A very good evening to you and welcome to Rwanda Television News with me, Sam Kalisa. Today at Urugwiro village, President Paul Kagame received former Ethiopian Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn, who is also the patron for the African Electronic Group. Of course, Mariam Saleum, the group's CEO and board chair. The AE Trade Group is developing a comprehensive e-commerce platform, Sokoku, to enhance the role of Africa's small and medium enterprises in and intra-African trade. Rwanda will host the group's continental headquarters, working closely with regional offices. Now, to tell us more, my colleague Ethan Tashobia spoke to Rwanda's Minister of ICT and Innovation, Paula Ingabire, and started by asking her the significance of having the AE Trade Group set up their continental headquarters here in Kigali, Rwanda.
Having the Africa E-Trade Group headquarters based here in Rwanda is something quite significant, not just for Rwanda, but also for the continent. What the Africa E-Trade Group has done as a group that is positioning itself to provide an Africa-wide e-commerce platform as well as advisory services to African SMEs. They have structured themselves in such a way that beyond the country programs that they will be leading in the different African countries, they've selected a number of countries to lead their regional offices so that they can better coordinate the e-commerce industry growth across the region, but also facilitate trading between countries within particular regions. And above that, then you have the headquarters, which then would have the oversight in terms of coordinating all the activities that are happening at a continent level, but also coordinating the regional offices. Rwanda, together with Egypt and Ethiopia, did put in a bid to host the continent-wide headquarter offices. And we were lucky to be selected and honored to be selected to host the continental headquarters here. And this is going to be a great milestone because it's anchored around our vision as a country to be at the forefront of ICT-led development, but at the same time capitalizing on the fact that Rwanda has the most conducive doing business environment. And we've opened up and have set up ourselves to become home to many of the headquarter organizations and really leveraging the convening power that we could be able to put in place as we encourage intra-African trade.
Okay, if you could tell us the progress so far regards the setting up of their continental headquarters in Rwanda. How far, where will they be based, and what is the size of the investment in terms of finances?
So the bid was concluded in May this year, and around June we were notified that we had been given the opportunity to host the continental headquarters of the Africa E-Trade Group. And today the management team of the Africa E-Trade Group has been in the country for the last 2 days visiting to follow up on some of the requirements to set up shop here. The plans and intentions are to have their very first staff and offices set up by the end of this year. They will start by renting out premises for the first 2 years, but the intention is to build out a facility that will host at least 7,000 staff over the next 5 years. And this facility will be based within the Kigali Innovation System, a city ecosystem that we have within the special economic zone. So part of the conversations that they've had while they're here is meeting the different SMEs, because a lot of their work and support is going to be targeted towards empowering SMEs with the different tools that they've put in place beyond the e-commerce platform. We're looking at having an integrated multi-payment gateway system. And so they've really been scanning the environment to understand the status of SMEs, the amount of digitalization that is happening and what needs to happen so that they are better positioned to tap into the support programs that Africa E-Trade Group will be putting in place. They've also been speaking with a number of organizations so that we can better link with the initiatives in place. Africa E-Trade Group is very keen to empower the youth, and so we've been working, they've engaged various youth organizations to understand what will be the best way to support, and complement the initiatives today that are there to support innovation and entrepreneurship. So this is their very first mission after Rwanda was awarded to be the headquarter offices. And they will, over the next 6 months, they're going to be focused on setting up their headquarters here, looking at the physical infrastructure that is required, both soft and hard infrastructure that will be needed to get the offices kickstarted. Did
the head of state, President Paul Kagame, give them any particular assignments from the meeting they held with him earlier today?
The conversations today with the president were focused mainly on, sharing the vision of Africa E-Trade Group. Obviously, also looking at some of the obligations that we will take on as the host country, which will include, facilitating their setting up their offices here, which will also include looking at how they can plug into the SME development efforts that we already have in place. But most importantly, focused on how do we sensitize and create awareness so that the layman, the citizens, the SMEs mostly that are targeted can understand what Africa E-Trade Group is going to benefit them most while they're setting up here, but also be positioned to tap into that. And so the president did pledge the country's support in making this vision a reality, but also making it a reality not just for Rwanda, but for the rest of the continent. And making sure that all the support that is needed to facilitate, to engage the Africa E-Trade Group as one of the initiatives that are going to champion and promote intra-African trade and promote the CFTA agenda.
Minister of ICT and Innovation, Paula Ingabire, many thanks for your time indeed.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
To health matters now, health authorities have warned that time shall come when people will be asked to present their vaccination status before accessing any services in Rwanda. Rwanda's target is to vaccinate at least 60% of its population by next year, June 2022. Earlier today, I spoke to Health Minister Dr. Daniel Ngamije to give the latest about the national vaccination campaign as well as the status of COVID-19 in the country.
I think where we stand as of now is that there is an improvement of the situation compared to what used to be 4 weeks ago, especially in Kigali City, but also in rest of the country. In Kigali City, most of the sectors which were affected massively with COVID-19, they are now cleared. We used to be with 5% of people who were tested randomly having COVID-19 virus. When we did 2 days ago a similar survey, a street survey in different places in Kigali, especially in hotspots in Kigali, Remera, Rwangura, Nyamirambo, in different sites, markets, etc., we found 0.8% of people who were tested positive. And the sample was big because we tested almost 5,000 people. It means there is reduction of incidence of COVID-19 in the city of Kigali, but also even in the rest of the country, especially in East and South provinces, where we had 50 sectors recently in lockdown, but only 10 sectors are still with COVID. People tested with COVID in samples that we did. We tested and we found that we do still have 10 sectors with incidence of between 5 and 10% in those 10 sectors.
All right.
7 in East Province and 3 in South Province.
Yeah. All right, Honorable Minister, vaccination rollout continues all over the country, and where can we say the country stands as of now in terms of vaccinating Rwandans?
We are still far from the objective, to be honest. The objective, at least for the end of this year, we should reach 30% of the population. We are close to 8, towards 9, as we continue to receive vaccines at weekly basis from our suppliers. We believe that if the trend continues like it is now, with the arrival of vaccine in the country, there is a hope that we might reach the objective of 30% with all vaccines that are in pipelines, depending orders that and agreement that we sign. In addition to that, through COVAX facility mechanism, there are additional vaccines that are arriving, approved by WHO, like Sinopharm vaccine, Johnson & Johnson, in addition to the three ones we started with, Moderna, Pfizer, and AstraZeneca. So there are 2 additional vaccines that are approved by WHO. So it gives a possibility of having more vaccine from COVAX facilities, and we expect that through that mechanism and through bilateral deals that we are doing, we might reach 30% of our population vaccinated by end of this year, if everything goes well as planned.
And as we finalize, Honorable Minister, people's response to the vaccination program, how does it stand right now in terms of people accepting or going for vaccination? And of course, finally, what's your message for the Rwandans as we continue the fight against COVID-19?
The acceptance rate for vaccine is very high. People are really demanding vaccines, and we can see it with people attending different vaccine sites where we are giving these vaccines. So I have facilities, some specialized sites that we opened since 2 weeks, Kigali and the one near to Rwandex, Expo, where you call Expo. And then in those health facilities where we are testing, people are really coming to be tested in general. There are some people who probably they postpone when we can invite them to come and be tested. So we work closely with the employees of those people so that we make sure that they inform their staff to come and be vaccinated.
Right.
But we started 2 days ago a specialized program of going home to vaccinate, especially elders who were not able to come to our sites. And we were very, very well surprised to see that they are really waiting the vaccines. They were not able to come for different reasons. Some of them are sick, others they don't have means to come, but the acceptance is very high.
All right.
I think the other message is that as we open different activities, we reopen restaurants, weddings are allowed, different type of ceremonies related to those weddings, being traditional, religious, and the one to the government institutions. And it goes with some ceremonies behind it. People should really take the advantage of being tested before going there. It's a requirement, but also it should be a normal way of, should be change in mindset.
It should be an initiative.
Exactly.
Personal initiative.
When you plan to go to a restaurant in the coming week, in the coming weekend, why don't you make sure that colleagues with whom we will meet are also tested, and you are self-tested.
All right.
And we are making available those tests at a good price, 5,000, and they are in different private clinics. People can be tested there. And also, we came with a nasal test, which is different to the nasopharyngeal test, which was really somehow painful. So the acceptance for those tests should increase, and we can see that people are willing to be tested. It's a matter of, for some of them, changing mindset and be tested as they go for any function where they're expecting to meet several people.
All right.
Another message is that we recommend to use open spaces, preferably, even for weddings. And there is an incentive of making sure that those who are going with those functions outdoor, they can even reach 50% of the occupancy rate, rather than 30% if they are in a closed space.
All right.
This is to, again, to give the message that this virus is transmitted through, it's almost an airborne disease. People should, when they're outside, the risk of transmission is quite low. So we should remember this one, and if possible, organize most of ceremonies outdoor rather than making it in. But if you are making indoor, at least keep social distancing and make sure that person with whom you are tested, and yourself, you are tested.
Continuing from where it just ended, businesses across the country have welcomed the decision from the cabinet meeting of extending working hours and the percentage of occupancy. Jen Mutoni has more.
Public transporters, wedding planners, restaurant and hoteliers, as well as leaders of religious organizations, are happy with the decision from the cabinet meeting concerning the COVID-19 restrictions, as their activities will resume with an increased number of occupancy and extended hours of work. We are extremely happy that we will be able to serve more customers. It's really a good thing. They say that they will not misuse this opportunity by strictly adhering to the COVID-19 prevention guidelines. The Minister of Health, Dr. Daniel Ngamije, explains why such measures were taken. People should understand that when we all adhere to the COVID-19 prevention guidelines, the numbers of COVID-19 cases will definitely reduce. And currently, COVID-19 cases have reduced, but people need to keep complying with the COVID-19 prevention guidelines, whereby if one is planning to meet or gather with friends, he or she should first test for COVID-19 virus, as the results are valid for 1 week, and afterwards, take another test. The Minister of Local Government, Gatabazi Jean-Marie Vianney, says that regardless, people need to keep adhering to the COVID-19 prevention guidelines. Right now, many people are concerned with planning weddings because they are now allowed to take place, and the numbers of attendees has been increased. But they should be more focused on adhering to the prevention guidelines in order to protect their lives. As of Thursday, the working hours for essential services permitted to operate were extended from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. and the curfew is at 8 p.m. Jane Mutsoni, RTV News.
Moving ahead, in a bid to reduce dependency on African countries on the global supply of vaccines and facilitate access in areas where the COVID-19 crisis has highlighted shortages, the Ministry of Health, in partnership with the Belgian Corporation through Enabel, to contribute to Rwanda's goal of building a robust ecosystem in the biotech industry and to boost Rwanda's readiness to manufacture vaccines and other pharmaceutical products. This partnership aims at supporting ongoing efforts to strengthen the Rwanda Food and Drugs Authority through the provision of key laboratory software, and it is subsequent to the agreement signed between the European Union and the Rwanda Development Board, aiming to strengthen the capacity of the Rwanda FDA, which is the key to enhancing the attractiveness of Rwanda for future investment in drugs and vaccine manufacturing. Earlier today, my colleague Ethan Tashobia spoke to Dirk Delpre, the resident representative of Enabel in Rwanda, to explain the significance of this partnership.
The actual intervention is in fact an EU-funded program, EU digital solutions to strengthen the resilience of education and health systems to COVID in Eastern Southern Africa and in the Indian Ocean region, where Enable is in charge, in fact, of supporting the health sector in Rwanda. And this is because it's complementary to the bilateral program funded through Belgium, where we are already working intensively with the Ministry of Health and RBC since many years in supporting the health strengthening. Now, how this will help in accessing vaccines is maybe a complex question, in the sense that the manufacturing itself requires different actors and it mostly a private business support. But what we do here now is, through our normal partnership with Ministry of Health and RBC, support the Rwandan Food and Drug Administration, which is the regulatory body which certifies the quality of medicines and vaccines and other consumables in the health sector, in uplifting and reaching its maternity level 3, a maternity level which is in fact assessed by the World Health Organization. And the investment we're doing now with the EU funds are to support the IT system of FDA to align with the requirements of the WHO. So it's in fact a building block of the broader ambitions of the African Union and Rwanda to bring more vaccine manufacturing to the African continent, where strengthening regulatory bodies is one of the basic building blocks to be able to move forward.
How much has Enabel invested in this partnership?
Up till now, the first investment we have for the FDA is relatively limited. It's a bit more than €200,000. But in fact, the longer vision is to this is really strengthening the system, is also on the IT development, is once the software is functioning at the level of the Food and Drug Administration, further work with RBC and Ministry of Health to also connect the National Reference Lab and other laboratories. So we're eager to continue on this and seeing this as a first step in improving the quality control and certification of vaccines, but also the follow-up of the use of vaccines in health centers throughout the countries.
Okay, sounds interesting. Now, how long will this partnership last? And if you could tell us, besides boosting Rwanda's readiness to manufacture vaccines, is there any more that this partnership will deliver to, Rwanda, but also?
Well, as I mentioned, for us, this is part of the partnership we have in the health sector, where Enable is being a partner for over 20 years. So we will continue in the health sector. I think as long as Enable will be present in Rwanda, the health sector is really we have never left the health sector since we have been working together bilaterally with Rwanda. So I think it will be a long-lasting, continued relationship in strengthening the health system and the quality to health services for the Rwandan population. So we hope to continue this with RBC and MOH beyond even the actual interventions.
Mr. Dirk Dupré, the resident representative of Enable, Belgian Development Agency, many thanks for your time here.
Thank you very much.
The United Nations Development Programme report on human development shows that Rwanda ranks the first in the world in terms of accelerating human development as a whole based on figures from 1990 to 2017. Innocent Mugabo has the report.
The survey is based on a variety of human development indicators, including the life expectancy, the rate of hope for starting and maintaining schools, and the income-generating community known as GNI per capita, and considering gender and governance. UNDP experts who compiled the survey found that their research found that programs related to domestic solutions, such as Jirinha, VUP, Imihigo, and joint health and community insurance, played a significant role in Rwanda's well-being compared to other countries. Maxwell Gomera, UNDP representative in Rwanda, says that the diligence and willingness of Rwandans is what accelerated the country's development.
Rwanda has gotten to where it is because there was courage. There was courage in society and in leadership to experiment and to do things that could save people. There was no other choice. And this is what we can do as human beings. If we are confronted with a challenge, when we come together and bring ourselves together, we can achieve a lot. This Human Development Report outlines Rwanda's achievement on many of the homegrown solutions that the country has been implementing, but we picked on 5. And those 5 have had tremendous impact on development opportunities for most Rwandese people.
The Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Dr. Uziel Ndajijimana, says that the findings in this report show that the efforts of leadership and Rwandans in their development have not been in vain.
I'm glad that this Human Development Report has focused on the role of our homegrown solutions in the achievement of key human development objectives in health, education, and the standards of living. And I commend the UNDP for this report. The report indicates Rwanda's good progress in human development and the role of homegrown solutions. Key achievements of the last 20 years highlighted in this report include, among others, the increase of life expectancy from 49 years to 67.8 years, along with significant reductions in maternal, infant, and child mortality, as well as significant improvement in health, education, and in the standards of living.
UNDP statistics show that from the 1980s to 1994, human development was declining, but since 1994, the rate at which it has been best has been rising and has not declined since. Innocent Mogabo, RTV News.
A team of heads of anti-corruption agencies in Angola, which is in Rwanda, have committed to further investigate any corruption suspects in the country after learning how the Rwanda National Police engages in fighting corruption. The Inspector General of the Rwanda National Police, CG Dan Munyuza, explained to the group from Angola led by the Minister of Inspector General of State Administration, Dr. Sebastião Domingos Gunza, that it has been long since Rwanda enacted a law punishing corruption-related crimes. He pointed out that fighting corruption would have been impossible if the police started fighting it from other institutions rather than from within.
Corruption has very much reduced and continues to reduce every year that passes because of the efforts put in fighting corruption. Implementing the government policy of zero tolerance in police. Every year we are chasing more than 300 police officers. Yeah, so now we are at an average of 100. Where there is too much corruption, even just a signature will take days and months. All the time services improve, and people get services at a faster pace than previously.
The Minister Inspector General of the State Administration of Angola, Dr. Sebastião Domingos Gunza, explained to the Rwanda National Police the responsibilities of the ministry he leads, saying that as a body responsible for fighting corruption, there is a lot that has been done to fight corruption, and that they're going to add a lot, including punishing those in the country's security organs found guilty of corruption-related crimes.
We also have a lot of instruments that were able to detect a lot of corruption acts. That's why we have a lot of owners of business that are basically responding to those crimes. And also, it doesn't matter the hierarchy. Anyone can basically be put in jail. And as well as they can exonerate in case if it's a police officer. I believe this is the way forward.
The Rwanda National Police says those working in its traffic police department are the ones more likely to be involved in corruption offences. However, in order to curb these crimes, speed cameras have been installed, and that has helped to reduce corruption offences as well as accidents. The Rwanda National Police also confirms that it is still difficult to fight technology-assisted forms of corruption. Cabo Delgado Provincial Governor Velij Ataliabo says that an analysis will be conducted on the damage caused by the insurgents to the local communities who were displaced by the fightings before reclaiming their property. He made the remarks after visiting Machimboa the Praia that was recently liberated by Rwandan and Mozambican troops from terrorists who had turned it into their main base. Innocent Mugabo has more.
Since the arrival of the Rwanda Defense Forces in Mozambique, major terrorist bases have been liberated thanks to relentless security operations by the Rwandan and Mozambican forces. In a joint operation, Rwandan and Mozambican forces took the Fuji-Mokimboa da Praia axis, a distance of 80 kilometers, and others took the Moeba-Mokimboa axis of about 95 kilometers. The troops met in the town of Mokimboa da Praia, which is also where they captured the terrorists' main base. In different parts of the province, Rwandan and Mozambican forces managed to liberate different cities from the insurgents. The first area to be liberated is Diaka, 20 kilometers from Moeda. Diaka, here you can still witness the horrors of war. Different public property were burned down. Before reaching the Awase center located 26 kilometers from Moeda, where a fierce battle with the terrorists took place, leaving a power station that supplied 5 districts with electricity, destroyed by the insurgents. Everywhere that the Rwandan and Mozambican forces passed fighting remains proof of the happenings. 4 days after being captured, Cabo Delgado Governor Velij Ataliabo visited Mokimboa da Praia. The first place he set foot was at Mokimboa da Praia Airport, where terrorists had stationed their main base. The governor says that he last visited the area in May 2020, where he visited the port at the Indian Ocean and different infrastructure including schools and hospitals. In a press conference, the governor of Cabo Delgado praised the Rwandan authorities for their commitment to working with Mozambique in the fight against terrorism.
Then I want to thank also His Excellency President of Rwanda, President Kagame, who has accepted to join the request of President News, my president. Through that, we got the troops of Rwanda joined with the Mozambican troops, who has strategical did step by step moving through to the Musimba da Praia. And we are here in Musimba da Praia because of this joint force who has made things happen.
An estimated 800,000 people fled Cabo Delgado province at the peak of the fightings, while at least 3,000 people were killed by terrorists. The province initially had a population of about 2.3 million people. The governor of the province says that after dislodging terrorists from their main bases, an analysis will be carried out to repair the damage and help the internally displaced people return to their respective homes.
Today, being free, then we have to organize a way forward for the people of Musimba da Praia to return. Then the return means that this our visit is one of the visits which have to see the compliances of how the people can return.
Of the 16 districts in Cabo Delgado province, 5 are the most affected by the terrorist attacks. Rwandan forces say that the operation of dislodging terrorists in all 5 districts is now at 90%. Rwandan and Mozambican forces share similar sentiments that efforts to fight terrorism will continue to build lasting peace in Cabo Delgado province. Innocent Mogabo, RTV News.
Thank you, Innocent. To justice matters now. This Thursday, 72-year-old genocide suspect Vena Rutunga appeared before the Kicukiro Primary Court and was charged for genocide crimes. According to witness accounts, Rutunga rewarded the military men who had killed Ndamaje by giving them a cow. And of course, before that, still on this story and going far, Primary Court was charged for genocide crimes, and of course the prosecution in Kicukiro district, the Kicukiro district prosecution charged Rutunga on 3 counts of genocide complicity in committing genocide and extermination as a crime against humanity. According to the prosecutors, a former regional director of the Rwanda Agriculture Research Institute, Issa Rubona, committed crimes mostly between April 26th and 30th in 1994 in Butare, currently in Huye district, where he was working at the time. Prosecution presented to court a number of crimes that Rutunga did during the genocide and led to the loss of many lives, especially those of the employees of the institution he was leading. Rutunga was pinned on having participated in the killing of one Epaphrodite Kalisa who served as a cashier at Isar. According to the prosecution, Rutunga instructed the gendarmerie or the policemen to look for Kalisa from wherever he was hiding, and policemen did so, and after arresting him, they presented him to Rutunga before they killed him. On another occasion, Rutunga allegedly did same to George Ndamaje, another Tutsi employee. According to witnesses' accounts, Rutunga rewarded the military men who had killed Ndamaje by giving them a cow. The prosecutors also cited another incident where Rutunga drove a car belonging to Isar and went to meet the prefect of Butare to request him for armed policemen to assist in killing Tutsis who were successfully defending themselves against the Interahamwe forces. And of course, prosecution requested court to remand Rutunga as further investigations into case continue, since he is a flight risk and due to the fact that the charges he's facing are capital in nature. Court will pass a ruling on his bail application on Tuesday, August 17th.